Hey guys, welcome back. Season 2 of Tekken 8 is upcoming, and there's been a recent announcement of Virtua Fighter, so I wanted to tackle an issue that's been going on with Tekken since the game came out. This issue has been plaguing the game since honestly before its release, and this video is going to be a lot more free-flowing because I have a lot to say. Usually I have a script all written down, but I'm just going to be yapping. Aggression is the main theme of this game. It's been pushed out to us since its inception. Yet every other 3D fighter that I can think of does this concept better. Today, to talk about this, I'm going to be using mostly Dead or Alive, Virtua Fighter, and Soul Calibur as examples, but of course there's other amazing 3D fighters that you should check out. Bloody Roar, hello! But Dead or Alive is just the game that I have the most amount of experience with, other than Tekken, and other than 2D fighters. As many know, Tekken 8 is chock full of aggression and so many unnecessary frames. It's very jarring that they didn't put a defensive mechanic that has just as much or like comparable power to the heat system. A lot of situations just end up to a guess or worse, multiple guesses. And there are multiple moves that give you this free 50-50 on block or hit, like Ling's back turn heat smash or Lars's dynamic entry 3. And it's nonsensical to interact with this doing it yourself onto someone or having it done onto you. I play Lily. I play lots of Lily, and I will be the first to say that her Feisty Rabbit mix-up is fucking bullshit. I actually brought this up in the character annoyance video, but it seems like everybody ignored that, so that's awesome. I can talk about it here again. Why is the sweep that she does, Feisty Rabbit 3, counter hit launch, but is only minus 13? Why is the Demon Pod not only safe, but plus on block? Why can you not guess correctly if you're grounded because either A, you get up and guess the mid correctly and have to guess again at minus 5, or B, you stay grounded and get hit by the low at reduced damage? And keep in mind, those are the best outcomes. You could guess wrong and eat a full combo. You could guess wrong and take a low knockdown with a follow-up. That, keep in mind, also gives her good Oki when you wake up. And she is not the only one. Like, every character can do this in some regard. But contrasted, in Dead or Alive, there's the hold system. For those of you that haven't played Dead or Alive before, the hold system is just a universal mechanic. It's kind of like a parry in Tekken, except everybody can do them. You can either hold high, low, mid punch, or mid kick, so 4 options. Of course, some characters have specific holds that do specific things, but they generally do the amount of damage that like a throw would do in Tekken, and it'll usually reset you to neutral in some type of capacity. This allows the defender to be actively interacting with the aggression that's happening. At any point in time, you can hold and you'll be reset to neutral. You'll do a little bit of damage to your opponent, and this whole interaction not only feels fair, but you are actively playing the game even when you are being hit. In Tekken, it kind of just feels like you're getting the shit beat out of you and you can't really do anything. So in the case of, let's say, Asuka or Zafina, both of these characters are defensive characters, by the way. They can achieve frame advantages of like plus 22 with little to minimal effort. If we had something like the hold system in Tekken, this would be much less of an issue because now you can hold it universally. No more of this only Yoshi can get out of this pressure and mix up bullshit. You all can do it at some capacity. And of course, while this is an incredibly powerful defensive mechanic, the attacker has very clear counterplay to this. In Dead or Alive, you can bait holds by changing up the timing of your string, not attacking at all, throwing the opponent when they go for a hold, or using a different string ender. So instead of a mid kick, you might do a high punch or something. This creates dimensions of gameplay. So yes, you can be extremely offensive or aggressive in Dead or Alive, but there is just as clear, powerful defensive gameplay. Not having a universal parry or defensive system makes Tekken 8 feel like you have no choice. Like, you just have to guess. And not only that, if your opponent is in heat, you might have to guess multiple times, and they could be safe at the end of it, or more likely, plus. And you may say Tekken already has reversals, parries, and Tsubakis. Shut up! Shut the hell up! First of all, those mechanics are not universal. Is it just like fuck bear players, like they just don't get it? Like, as somebody who plays Jun, I will say, when I play Jun, 80% of the time, I'm looking for a can-can, I'm looking for a punch Tsubaki, I'm looking for a parry when I'm on the defensive. And a lot of times I get those and it allows me to start my offense. However, playing a character like Leo is actually fucking torture Now, while Leo does have a lot of bullshit, like a counter hit launching hell sweep, down forward 2+3, I don't know what is going on with that move. They also have these huge defensive holes where like you just lose sometimes. Leo has a litany of parries. Like take for example, up back 1. I like that parry a lot. And there's parries like that in Dead or Alive. That would be like a character specific parry. I feel like Lei Fang could have something like that. But that parry is actually not good at all. The startup is bad. The follow-up, which is 4 and then back to 1+2, is kind of hard to get. It's kind of frame tight. Tekken then has a bunch of rules on top of its parry system. You can't parry elbows or knees. You can't parry kicks that are flying in the air. You can't parry unblockables. So very quickly you start to notice the deficiency with a lot of these parries, Tsubakis, and reversals in Tekken. It almost feels like they're like an add-on to what is going on in the game. And this is really exemplified by the fact that in competitive play, parries are not used that much. Reversals and Tsubakis are not used that much. It's more likely that someone would use like a fast counter hit launcher or a fast hit confirmable counter hit. Think like King's down 4-2. King, half of King's move list, but these moves lose a lot of efficacy in the same way that parries do, because of the startup, because of the niche utility of some of them. When you are -6 at a sidewall and you cannot step, you're fucked. And it feels like Tekken has never been this crazy. I know people have said that the 50/50s have always been like this, but like, please be fucking serious. I don't think I've ever seen any frames on a character like +22 off of a wall running move that gives you wall crush. Asuka, and she's not even that good. Like, Asuka is not even that good in this game, and the things that she can do feel illegal. I genuinely thought when they were revealing the heat system that we would get something like a Soul Calibur guard impact, right? Soul Calibur has a meter, and you can sacrifice some of that meter to do a guard impact, which is like a regular guard, but you get pushback and you reset to neutral, which would have been like genius for this game. That is kind of what Jun's forward 1+2 is. Except it's high, which isn't like the best, and its startup is much slower than things like Yoshi's Flash. I've spoken about this before, but I would love to see something in between Yoshi's Flash and Jun's forward 1+2, but like as a universal mechanic. It's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 frames, so it could beat a jab, and you could throw it in when you're being pressured a lot, and maybe sacrifice like half of your heat bar. Make it limited use so that you can't just do it all the time. It would be a very, very powerful tool, I understand, but that's the point. It's to counter some of these like insane sequences where someone could go, okay, I'm gonna do one move that sets me up at +5, and then I'm gonna do another move that sets me up at +5 but goes into stance. Now I'm gonna do another move that originally would have me minus, but now I'm gonna heat dash out of that and I'm plus again. And tools that are supposed to work as like your panic buttons, your orbital, your rage art, etc. don't work. Like, you cannot rage art at -7. It's not happening. You cannot heat burst out of this situation. That's another thing. I saw people, the main man, talk about how heat burst is that. Heat burst is our guard impact. Wrong. Wrong. Heat burst is not designed well. It's not a very well designed mechanic. You can tell this by the fact that it had to get fundamentally a rework, like several times, from the game's original inception all the way to its release. Throughout the 800 patches that we've gotten, the heat system in general has gotten a lot of changes, but so has heat burst. Heat burst is not like the hold system or guard impact or really a powerful defensive tool at all, because you can use it to extend your combos, and in that case, you're sacrificing the little defensive utility it has. Heat burst is also RNG. Sometimes, to a heat burst, you know, my opponent is going to do a heat burst. I'm going to grab. I'm going to sidestep, or I'm going to do a low. Majority of lows are not fast enough to beat a 16 frame startup. A lot of times, you sidestep or sidewalk and you still get clipped all the way from green ranks to competitive players watching the TWT. This happens to everyone. Stepping is also not always an option. Things like walls exist. I don't know why people act like you can always just freely step. Your opponent also, if they have brain cells, could set you up to be minus before they do their heat burst, and then you also can't step. Different characters have different side steps, like at, you know, and it's the same story with lows as it is throws. You can know that heat burst is coming, and you can go for the throw, and that heat burst can still beat you. Then you add in extraneous factors, like different heat bursts have different pushback and can hit at different lengths and distances, and this argument like falls apart even more. It's not universal. It is an aggressive and defensive mechanic in a fundamentally aggressive game. So which one do you think it's going to be used for more? And it's also RNG. Like it's not the best that we could have. Heat burst works for things, but it's nowhere near as intricately or intelligently designed as things like Dead or Alive's hold system are. Like if you've never played Dead or Alive, I highly recommend it. It's a great game. That was crazy. It's a great game, but like genuinely, the way that the defensive and offensive mechanics interact in that game is phenomenal. And I do not feel the same way about the heat system. Like, I honestly feel like they just gave different characters different frames because why not? Like, it's cool that Paul can do his death fist and it's safe. It's cool that he has a 13 frame heat engager. But like, what does that actually mean for the implications of the game? It's very cool that Kazuya has Shinkue. It's cool that he has a plus on block mid out of crouch dash. But like, what are the implications of actually playing against that in game? Okay, I hope that I summarized my points kind of well enough. Like I said, this is all off the top of my thick ass dome. And with what we saw in that winter update, some people are theorizing that now out of a heat engager situation, you can run in at full crouch. And that would be a nightmare. The shit that Shaheen is doing, where he's running in and doing a guard break instantly, every character would have access to some type of bullshit like that. Like, and that's character dependent. Obviously, Lily's strongest move out of full crouch is her down forward one, so like, who gives a fuck? But Law, out of full crouch, Lee, Shaheen, John, like, all of these characters would be absolute nightmares if that's true. So I'm hoping that it's not, and I'm hoping that we're headed in a good direction with this game, because like everyone said, oh, we're in the arcade release, this is season 1, which I will continue to say is fucking stupid, because there was multiple playtests for this game, like offline, and then there was 2 international playtests for this game, and then it's been out for an entire year, and we're still like, oh, we're testing it. I would argue that the way that Tekken 8 has been handled, and the way, like, when Tekken 7 came out, is around like the same. If this game released in May with the like 1.05 balance changes that they made, it would have been received a whole hell of a lot better, and we would have had a lot more like space for them to flesh out the game versus it coming out completely just in an unacceptable state. But damn, I'm just fucking talking at this point. Y'all know the spiel at the end of the video. I'm gonna be making a lot more content. Subscribe or die. I'll see you in the next video. Okay. Bye.